at work. Not so much technically, more in areas of conflicts within team, bosses from different cultures and different backgrounds, and perspectives that differs between Westerners versus Asian. And gosh, my emotions, it was like roller coaster early days. And until one day, I decided there must be a solution. I can't be the only one experiencing this. But typically, being an introvert that I am, the first thing that I turned to was internet for help, not people. But who I found was an interesting man. Most of you would probably even know him, Daniel Goleman. He's the famous author of EQ. And I sent him an email asking for help. And yes, he did reply the email. The godfather of EQ did reply my email. And in fact, he even shared his book free of charge. Rest is history. Long story short, when and what he shared with me that week literally changed my life. My practice with the EQ journey started with a simple habit: observation. He told me to observe myself and observe others around me. My words, my feelings, and my action. Similarly, other people's word, how they were feeling and how they were acting, and how this affected me and people around them. So slowly over a period of time, my engagement with people improved. My resilience to manage a chaotic environment improved. I was able to build individuals and teams. Now, not that I did not have tough bosses or I did not have any conflicts around me, and not even to say there isn't any other perspective, diverging perspective. The only thing that changed was how I was handling it. So this is very profound. And with my observation over 20 years, I truly witnessed the impact of EQ. So let's put it this way. Organization where they had invested in EQ with building the team and the leaders. One thing I observe is they build great teams. The teams are very engaged. They are very productive, and usually they are very committed, which means the loyalty is high. However, whoever choose to ignore it or did not spend thinking, oh, it's so feely, touchy, it's so soft, it's not macho numbers, what you will notice is this organization usually suffer with high turnover, disengaged employee, and also very poor alignment. And the worst part of it, in some cases, the bottom lines will start eroding. And what we all do, most of them we say, hey, that's HR problem. Let them deal with it. And most likely that's one of the reasons why HR exists in the first place, right? Beside your payroll, of course. Now, since most of you here wanted to make 8 figure, so let's see, maybe you appreciate a bit of numbers around this, right? So a Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development had a statistic around engagement. They said company which invested in their leaders developing EQ had 44% of higher engagement. That means people were very engaged in their day-to-day activity. And another research, Hay Group, is a salary Hay Group, and they say 20% of them demonstrated higher productivity. And Gallup came back and said the middle managers who were highly EQ based, they could manage the top down expectation without having them to cascade down, pressuring the lower people, their team members, where they have to get the delivery expectation met. So this team engagement at middle layer was at 70%, and 4 times likely people will not leave. So that is how fantastic. Of course, with my personal experience, the numbers would have been different, but the engagement, the staff turnover, the productivity, it was there. We saw it. I saw it. All right. And so imagine with your business, when you are building 8-figure business, you're investing. Wouldn't you love to have those productivity, those margin, so that you can pour it back into your business to get more customer? Isn't that much more worthwhile? So this is a true sense of EQ being in place and how it helps leaders. And we all know Google, right? Google actually ran one project called Aristotle. They studied 180 teams, and their number one predictor of high performance wasn't technical ability, it was psychological safety. They believe if you can speak without fear, that is a good platform for the team to be able to voice themselves, to build their trust, and to build their confidence. And this creates a team that strives better compared to any others. So before I go further, I want to reset one baseline, a common myth. So when I'm using the word leader, I don't mean job title, not a position, a box on your organization chart. And it is not a status. Because if leadership was just a title, you'll be running after all the fancy job titles, name cards. Here, when we are referring to leaders, we are talking about anyone and everyone that can develop EQ, and everyone is a leader in their life. People like yourself, people like me, everyone in this webinar, left, right, center, we are all the leader of our life. So you don't require permission, you don't require even approval. You are in charge of your life and you can start your journey with EQ. And when you develop EQ, the most magical part of EQ that I am amazed with always is you not only create a better self of you, you create a ripple effect. You create a better life, you get better family, better team, better business, and at large, you become better part of society. But there is a hard truth as well. Knowledge alone not going to cut for this because it is decades and decades of poor emotional maturity that we carry. Therefore, we have bad emotional habits. A real change requires practice and feedback. And sometimes a framework will help you. So over time, when you practice, this becomes automatic for you. Let's take a moment, time for you to reflect. Now, we have people from different walks of life here today attending this webinar, right? So take a time, try to remember one person at your work life who made the difference for you. Take 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. You probably recall someone. Chances are you remember them not because they were smart, because they were high IQ, but probably how they made you feel. They made you seen, heard, or understood. That is true EQ in action. The person was not born with EQ. They learned it. You can go and ask them. If they could, so can you. Now, let me share my experience and what became the most grounding foundation of my EQ journey. It rested on two principles. One is respect. Another one is assertiveness. Now, some of you might be thinking, you're Malaysian, right? Assertive? We always say sorry before even we make any mistake or wrongdoings. I do. I always go like, oh, sorry, I'm sorry, right? But here, the assertiveness that we are talking about is about your ability to express your difficult emotion, especially negative emotion, which people are not very good at, without being aggressive or too passive. Sometimes people just back off, right? So this is your ability to be able to express. Now, in terms of the EQ quadrant, we will go back to same four EQ quadrant that Daniel Goleman has coined. But we want to show you how to apply this respect and assertiveness as part of these quadrants. Okay? The first two quadrant is about awareness. And the first one is about yourself. You need to know what you are experiencing, what you are feeling. And when you know what you are feeling, the first question you need to ask, do I respect my own feeling? Am I becoming a people pleaser? Right? Now, and being assertive about it, you also want to ask, do I allow myself to be heard? Because if you're not heard, then you're not respecting your own self. Now, moving into the social awareness, now we are trying to understand others' feeling, right? Now, do I respect others' feeling? And where do others' feeling becomes a problem? When people have differing opinions, differing perspective, right? So are we able to respect that? The next portion is about management. And again, starting from self-management, how you react. Okay? Ideally, we want to get people to respond, not react. So, can I express difficult emotion? As I mentioned earlier, a negative emotion without losing control or shutting down or becoming passive. That is the key here. And with these three components coming together, you're going to build a relationship. And the most important part in building this connection, this relationship, is you must be able to create a space where people feel safe enough to grow and to move forward. So, why do you think we take through all these questions of respect and assertiveness? There is a science behind this, right? So, let me see. By the time you answer this question, most likely you would have exceeded 6 seconds. And most likely, you would have already bypassed your brain's panic button hijacking you. So normally when people react, they react because there's a panic button that triggers and then you are reacting. So when you're going through this question and you pass that 6 seconds, your logical brain takes over and it takes about more than 6 seconds before it takes over. And by doing this exercise, you will start moving from reacting to responding. This is amazing part of your brain activity and it comes under neuroscience, how brain works and how it controls your emotion, feeling, behaviors and all that. But that is a altogether different topic. Again, another favorite topic of mine, but that's a story for another day. But today, before you reply to any tense email, before you walk into a difficult conversation, before you fire off and then you go, oh, I regret. Stop. Ask those respectful questions and frame your assertive answer. And that's it. You will see a complete difference, a complete change in your EQ maturity. Now, by responding to this, being respectful and assertive, basically what you are doing is just creating the ripple effect. When you are respectful and assertive, you are creating that emotional safety, which now allows your team to be able to speak, to trust, to exchange ideas, and to build a commitment. And when they start doing that, you become a better team, better leaders, and better part of organization. And when leaders and team performs the best, what happens? You build a great business. Having said that, today we live with the world, which is also stressful, fast, speed, constantly changing AI and after AIs as well, right? So people need more than solution. They need to feel safe. And when your team feels safe, heard, and understood, they don't only just work for money. They work because they believe in you. You know how to bring the best in your people. That is true leadership. And that is the human connection and the EQ of leadership. So most leaders I meet are waiting for a better strategy. But leaders who actually transform their team, they start with themselves. Self-awareness before strategy, self-management before scaling, and empathy before execution. Today, I have given you what, why, and how of emotional intelligence and a small practical tool for you to start respect and assertiveness. But the real transformation happens when you practice this with others. Put this into a practice, nothing dramatic, start small, observe, respect, be assertive, be kind, especially to yourself when you take through this. Don't be hard on yourself. So start your journey with EQ, enjoy your journey with EQ, with respect, with assertiveness, and maybe just a little less roller coaster ride from where I started. Thank you, Yu, for creating this platform. And it is through this meaningful sharing we really seek change to create leaders. And thank you, everyone. And I'm handing this back to Yu. Yu, over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Sri. Let's give a round of virtual applause to Sri for the amazing, amazing share when it comes to emotional intelligence and really mastering our future by first mastering ourselves. And I love how Sri has shared with us the importance of building a safe space for our organization, our team to thrive together. And you know what? Because you have stayed tuned so far, Sri actually has a gift for all of you. How many of you would like a gift? Type in gift in the chat if you'd like a gift from Sri, because Sri will be conducting a 2-day masterclass on mastering your emotional intelligence and beyond. And our team will be sharing with you the link in the chat that is scalendo.com/Sri, where you can claim your gift today. And you know what? Stick around. We have more gifts to share with you, because up next will be our next expert will be sharing with you how to master your money mindset. Because when it comes to winning in the game of finance, it is all about being able to master our mind. So without further ado, let's give a warm round of applause to Terence Tan, who has been building successful investors and traders for the past couple of decades in Singapore and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm round of applause to Terence Tan.
Hey there everyone, this is Terence Tan from Impossible Investors. Now, I'm an option trader by profession and I trade full-time on my own trading account. Now, so what I have today for all of you, right, it's a great news in this current market. So if any of you have looked at the stock market right now, you know that we are in crazy times. Now, and when I say crazy times, it simply means that we have a market right now that's pretty much banking on what one man, right, it has to tweet about and has a headline for the rest of this world. All right, now, so can you imagine if we ever had a market where one simple tweet, right, on Twitter itself, or now called X, can actually move the market at its own will? All right, now, so this is where we have an absolutely crazy market where, trend doesn't really matter. Fundamentals don't really matter, right? It's what one man chooses to say and the picture that one man chooses to bring to the table. Now, so of course, this leads us, or, bring many of us to the realization that, we bring about a story, right, in which many of us probably grew up with, right? The boy who cried wolf. Right now, so he's going to keep crying and crying and crying as long as it works, as long as it brings people to his party, right? But sooner or later, right, this is going to end, right? It's going to be a situation where he's going to keep calling for it, right? And nobody's going to react anymore, right? But are you making money right now? And that is the biggest question, isn't it? Right? Because if we are trading in the market, right, we would like to clearly have an edge no matter what kind of market conditions we are looking at or we are facing right now. Because markets can change. But do we have the strategy that actually helps us adapt to the ever-changing market so that we can always create a consistent outcome from how we trade and how we choose to make money in this market? So if you don't clearly have an edge to how you trade the markets right now, right, do remember to come into my live session and live webinar together with all of you, right, tomorrow night at 8 in the evening. Right, so it's going to happen on the 29th of April at 8 p.m. in the evening, right, where I'm going to use what I'm good at, options trading, to show you how all of you can build a very clear, distinct edge, right, despite all the current market fluctuations, despite all the craziness in the market right now that you're seeing, that you're facing. Right, and if all of you are not sure what I'm talking about, right, let me quickly flash onto the screen, right, exactly what, right, I would love for all of you to see. Right now, so if you look at this SPX chart over here, this is basically the whole S&P itself, right? So here we have the month of March, right, where, the whole Iran situation broke out, right? So the market kind of collapsed with that fear over here, right? And then all it took was one man's headline, right, to announce that the war is over, right? Even before it actually is, and before even any confirmation came at all, right? He just said the war is over, right? And then look what it did to the market. Right, it basically not only recovered whatever damage it created over here, right, but it also brought the market to an all-time high. Was there any relevance or was there any backing behind this? No, because the negotiations are still going on, right? And the negotiation seems like it's only one party at the table and not two. I hope you see where I'm talking about over here, right? And right, nothing is confirmed yet. And yet we are not just past the all-time high, right? But we have clearly broken out from the all-time high. Now, so what I'm saying over here is, can you enter the market right now and chase the prices? Not exactly, isn't it? Right? It comes with a lot of risk. But can you also short this market right now with the kind of headlines that he is making, right? And how he influences market to keep going higher? You can't as well. So many traders are now left stuck. Right? But do you entertain the idea of making a trade every single day and going out of the day with your profits to show for in just 60 minutes or less? Now, if you like the sound of idea, you better make sure that you have registered, right, and actually show up, right, for my live webinar tomorrow, right? And I say this because if I were to narrow all this down, right, into a 5-minute trading window, right, and when you have all these lines that I plot together with my students on the chart itself, can you see where the opportunities now are? Right? When you have a day where prices of the SPY actually trade to the roof of this line that we have over here, right? Can we actually take short-sided trades with options, right? And actually make some profits from it? Yes, we can. And we actually did this on Friday itself, right? We actually did 2 short-sided trades over here where we sold options, right, for 40 cents and actually closed it, right, for half the profitability. All right, so we sold it for 40 cents and we closed the trade for 20 cents very quickly after that in like what, 20 minutes window, right? And actually made, right, about a 4% return from that trade itself, right? And not just that, we went back again and sold another option for 42 cents, right? And we closed the trade later on in about what, 17 minutes? We got in, opened the trade at 210, closed the trade, right, at 217, right, for yet again, right, about another 4% profits again, right, within the 80 minutes window, right? So would you love to be able to have the edge to create and spot all these opportunities happening, right, day after day after day, right, to bring more profitability to how you trade and also your trading capital itself? Now, so if all this sounds really, really intriguing to you, right, and it brings about some kind of excitement, right, to how you can make money in the markets together with us, right, do remember, right, not only to register for the session, right, where I'm going to share all the details with all of you, yeah, okay, about how all this strategy works, right, but also, right, to show you how you can actually go into the markets live together with me and let's trade this together and let's make this happen for real in your own trading account. Now, so I hope this brings about, right, the excitement level to you, and I will see you in our live webinar together at 8 p.m. tomorrow. This is Terrence Tan from I'm Possible Investors, right, signing off as a full-time trader to you right now. And come tomorrow, right, I can actually be your trading mentor, guiding you to create the same kind of profitability that I've made for myself for many, many years right now. So I'll see you tomorrow night in the live webinar. Bye, everybody. See you really soon.
All right, and let's give a warm round of applause to Terrence Tan, who will be coming back tomorrow to share with you exactly what he does when it comes to trading his automated options income strategy, daily options income strategy. In fact, it will be the same link tomorrow. He'll be diving deep into his strategy. How many of you would love to learn his strategy, by the way? Type in strategy in the chat if you'd love to learn his strategy that has stood through the test of time, especially during this crazy times that we are in. So great to see all of the strategies coming into the chat. Make sure you join us tomorrow, 8 p.m., the same time, same link. Terrence Tan will be taking over and sharing with you his automated daily options income strategies. But before we go into that, we have a whole lot more of speakers to share with you today, right? And diving up next will be me, myself, and I who will be sharing with you the opportunity that we have in the market today in the age of AI, right? You know, how many of you agree that these are amazing times? Type in amazing in the chat if you agree that these are amazing times with AI. But the question is, you know, amidst all of these amazing times, how many of us are actually being able to capitalize on the rise of AI? And I wanted to share with you to start broadening your horizons on the opportunity that we have right now. Most of the world are still sleeping on AI. A fraction of the world are trying to figure out AI, but there's just a minuscule minority who is really able to tap into it. And I want to share with you this story over here. Okay, because right now, just a couple weeks ago, a Rufus bot, fully automated bot, can run an entire sales team's quarter while he sleeps, right? How many of you agree that that's crazy? Type in crazy in the chat if you agree that's crazy. An AI bot can take over an entire sales team's quarter while he sleeps. Well, because right now, okay, how this bot is designed is it scans thousands of warehouses by satellite. All right, by satellite. And number two, it scored every single roof by the age. Imagine just through having satellite imagery, which you're able to tap nowadays. Okay, you're able to identify the age of the different buildings. And this comes up with a strategy to be able to identify which businesses to outreach to, and essentially to sell them roof ideas. Because not only that, right? By having these satellite imagery, they are able to pull the building owner's details. Okay. And from there, they also managed to calculate the federal tax credit down to the exact dollar if people choose to use the solar panels that they are offering and selling to the market. And with this automated system, they managed to even render solar panels onto the actual building itself. Now, I want you to imagine maybe you own a warehouse, all right? Of course, not all of us own warehouses, but I want you to just imagine if you owned a warehouse, okay, or maybe a factory, you have this giant footprint in this space that's able to capture sunlight, right? And then in comes your mail with this image of your roof, your building's roof, filled with solar panels and a hook to capture your attention to say, hey, how would you like to monetize with the future of solar energy by using precious real estate that you are allowing to go to waste right now, that's sitting right on top of your head, right? So stay tuned. Okay, so and this bot actually emails out each owner with a personalized proposal, just like what I mentioned, but of course in detail as well. And this is the world that we are living in right now. And that roofer can wake up every single morning with book calls throughout the days and weeks to come. How many of you would love to be fully booked? Type in booked in the chat if you'd love to be fully booked, right? Because especially for those of you who are either in B2B, B2C, you're doing one-on-one calls or one-on-one consultations, it's important to have our calendars booked so that we are speaking to the right prospects, the right clients, and not only that, being able to generate such strong desire and interest where virtually, all you need to do is just say, hey, here's the investment, and they are ready to say, shut up and take my money. All right. So great to see all of the books that are coming into the chat. Right. So this is what AI automation can do for you already. And how many of you would like to see this in action? Type in me in the chat if you'd love to see this system in action right now. Okay, I see the me's coming into the chat because check this video out. Okay, as you can see, this system on the left side, right, is going through the step-by-step process of scanning the satellite imagery, right, and going step by step by identifying who's the owner, verifying the email, right, calculating the credits that they can get, what are the pain points, sending the proposal, even identifying the aging, so on and so forth. And on the right side, you see it actually rendering and showcasing how that solar panel could actually look like on their real estate. How many of you agree that this is powerful? Type in powerful in the chat if you agree that this is powerful, right? Imagine being able to receive this in your email or even in your LinkedIn or whatever, or WhatsApp as well. This is a very, very powerful tool. Okay, and I want you to start opening your eyes and opening up your minds to the world that we are in today. Most of us don't even know that this exists, right? But those who are master marketers, these are what they are doing in the background. And a lot of them are trying to keep this under wraps, right? Because we only have a very short window of opportunity to capitalize on opportunities like this. Okay? So in the next couple of minutes, I'll be sharing with you, right, how 4 real businesses with one principle behind all 4 of them, okay, starting from roofing using a tool called OpenClaw. How many of you know OpenClaw, by the way? Type in OpenClaw in the chat if you know OpenClaw. You just saw the example just now. That was OpenClaw in action. And then home services with Netic and Avoca, funeral homes as well, metal memorials, things that you would think, hey, how would AI even get into the funeral business? Well, there's that as well. And then reactivation of your databases, right? Maybe some of you may have been in business for some time already, okay, but you want to find a way to revive your business. There are case studies of that already happening, okay? And these are million-dollar brick-and-mortar businesses with tiny teams and industries no one on Twitter or whatever social media is paying attention to. Okay, so who is this for, right? There are essentially, I believe, two types of people in our room, right? The same room for the same reason. Number one, you are the professional. You have a domain expertise and you are thinking about starting. How many of you are experts, by the way? Type in experts in the chat if you have your very own expertise. And, don't be shy. This is not the time to be shying away from your greatness, right? Because I believe every single one of us, every single one of you, you are an expert in your own right. And thank you to our experts who are commenting into the chat right now. In the age of AI, we have to start owning our expertise so that we can plant our flags and say, hey, this is the domain that I dominate. This is the industry that I am going to lead in. Okay, so great to see all the experts that are coming in. And next, if you're not a professional, maybe you're the operator of businesses where you've got real customers, real payroll, and AI that's breathing right down your neck. Do you feel the pressure of using AI nowadays, especially with all of the changes and all of the examples that you're seeing so far? Type in pressure into the chat if you feel that pressure, because for me, I'm definitely feeling the pressure. And I've been tapping into AI since the end of 2022 when OpenAI, released ChatGPT right out there. Okay, and things are just going to speed up faster and faster. If you're not feeling the pressure right now, I hope through my presentation, I'm going to light a fire right on your butt so that you get up and running with AI. Because the rules of the game has changed and the window of opportunity is short. If you do not take this opportunity right now, you are very likely going to be left behind and going to play catch up forever. Okay, because for the professional, just like yourself, you were told that domain expertise stopped counting. But in fact, it just started counting more than it ever has, because you have your own knowledge, you have your own experience, you have your own processes that work within the environment that you are operating in. No longer do you need a co-founder. No longer do you need a $1 million seed. No longer do you need a 50-person team or a complicated tech stack. None of it is required. All is required is your expertise and your ability to get things down in a process. And how many of you have a process? Type in process in the chat if you have your own day-to-day process in your business, in your jobs, in your career. Every single one of us has a process. And all you need to do is to invest just a little bit of your time every single day. Just automate one process at a time. And soon you will find that you have this engine, you have this vehicle that is able to autonomously not only deliver the high quality results that you already do on a day-to-day basis, but it could potentially self-improve and deliver beyond your dreams and expectations, right? And for the operator, right, if you are in business, a chatbot that writes mediocre emails isn't the answer. We all go into ChatGPT and then we say, hey, write me a cold outreach email to so and so, right? Because the growth cap in your business aren't the email limitations, okay? It's all about, I want you to write this down, finding, closing, dispatching, and keeping your customers. Okay, I want you to write this down. It's all about finding, closing, dispatching, or delivering, and keeping your customers. Nobody's been showing you the right layers, right? They've been sharing with you all these different tactics and fancy ways of using ChatGPT or Claude, but no one hones in on the essential points that we all need to focus on. Because whether you're a professional or you're an operator of your own business, this is the same opportunity for all of you, okay? One side wants in and the other wants to scale. How many of you want to scale, by the way? Type in scale in the chat if you want to scale. Because of course, here in SCALENDO, we help you scale and do more together with our education and of course, our systems as well. Because the answer is the same answer and it has a name. And I want you to really, really stay tuned for this because the math in our world has changed. In 2026, the first billion-dollar one-person company will be built. Okay, and then over here, Anthropic CEO, the creator, the founder of Anthropic and the creator of Claude says, when does the first billion-dollar company with a single employee show up? 2026 is the year with a 70 to 80% confidence rate. We already have companies that are worth over $300 million, if not $400 million, right, already coming up thanks to AI. Okay? Maybe some of you have heard the news about this person who used AI to promote GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic, for example, something similar like this, just using AI, and he managed to generate a business worth, if I'm not mistaken, $300 million or more. Okay, and here's the shared enemy for all of us. The AI conversation has constantly been hijacked by SaaS or software as a service. Everybody is talking about, oh, what are the latest tools? What are the different, the best tools out there in the market? But meanwhile, the real money is being quietly extracted from boring industries by business operators who don't post about it on social media, such as HVACs, right? Air conditioning, roofing, funeral homes, medical spas, storage, pest control even, plumbing, and landscaping, right? Most of these businesses are digitally untouched for the past 3 decades, and AI just walked in with a key, right? Handing them millions and millions of dollars. But here's the catch for every single one of us in the room today. We have about 18 months, okay, to be the first mover and take this advantage, first mover advantage in any local market that we are in now, regardless of our niche. And after that, the market will start normalizing and the edge will disappear. How many of you would want to capture this opportunity? Type in capture in the chat if you would like to capture this opportunity, right? You pretty much got 18 months to go to capture it right now, okay? Because there's one word that will help you master the future in the next 18 months. And the principle is called the bottleneck principle. Okay, the only frame that you need to evaluate any brick and mortar opportunity for the rest of this decade. Even if it's not in brick and mortar, you're doing services, you're doing digital products. this is also an opportunity for you, because there are 4 human bottlenecks, right? And AI now removes all 4 of them. Number 1, I want you to write this down: prospecting. Okay, finding qualified buyers for your business, or it could be for other people's businesses as well. This can be a service that you can deliver. Every single business requires quality leads, quality prospects. Number 2, conversions. Actually being able to turn inbound inquiries into booked work, and leveraging of AI to help inform you or your sales team to be able to convert better. Number 3, operations, dispatch, scheduling, fulfillment, being able to create this smooth running machine and engine so that you can actually focus on what's important rather than being stuck in your business. And how many of you have ever felt either stuck in your business or even in your career? Type in stuck in the chat if you have ever felt that. Okay, because every single one of us, okay, we probably at some stage of our lives and our careers, we would have felt stuck. Right now, we have the opportunity to get unstuck, to free our times so that we can be human beings rather than human doings. Okay, right? And number 4 is retention, be it reviews, referrals, reactivation. How is it that you can retain your clients? Because it's one thing to be able to bring people into your world, but how can you keep them coming back to you over and over and over again? The first operator in any local market right now to remove any of these 4 bottlenecks will win that market. And how many of you are committed to win? Type in win in the chat if you are committed to win, because I believe within our community, we are a community of winners. Right? Great to see all the winners commenting in the chat. Come on, keep it coming in, keep it coming in. Okay, win, 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 win. Okay, we are here to win together in SCALENDO, in World Masterclass together, right? So I've shared with you the case study of using OpenClaw to prospect for the roofers, right? A single deal like this could be worth $2 million with 0 salespeople, right? And this is your prospecting layer. Number 2, Netic and Avoca, AI agents field every inbound call, schedule the job, and quote the price at 100% answer rate. This is a real life case study from this company over here. Netic, their revenue growth was 1,700%. Avoca, with jobs booked a year, $1 billion, and the average ticket value increased by more than 50%. The bottleneck they remove is lead to booking conversion, where 60% of inbound used to die after hours. 37% of phone leads converted when answered, and operators answers 30 to 40% of calls, while AI answers 100%. No more missed calls, no more missed opportunities. Number 3, on operations, Meadow Memorials, the funeral parlor. Okay, they are the largest independent funeral provider in California with no physical real estate, 0 buildings, less than 2 years, right? And they shot up to being number 1 in California. They use software as infrastructure. Okay, they removed the bottleneck of operations, coordination, dispatch, fulfillment that used to require buildings and dozens of staff. And AI doesn't just replace marketing, it replaces buildings, which means it replaces an entire industry's cost structure. And database reactivation over here, right? A date list, from a date list to $53,000 in immediate revenue, all just by leveraging AI. And the pattern is one bottleneck won, then the next stacked. None of the 4 tried to do all 4 at once. They picked one, won it, and stacked on to the next. And that's the whole game. How many of you are committed on the one thing? Type in 1 in the chat if you're committed on just dealing with the one thing one at a time. Okay, great to see all the ones coming into chat, because you don't need to beat OpenAI. You just need one bottleneck and 12 months. Pick and the industry you already understand from your career, if you're a professional, okay? Audit the 4 bottlenecks inside it. Find the most painful one and build or buy a system that removes it. Because your domain expertise is the moat, not your code. I want to repeat that again. Your domain expertise is the moat, not the code. All right? So don't rebuild your business. Find your, for operators, don't rebuild your business. Find your worst bottleneck and remove it. And most likely, number 1 is prospecting, right? Where your pipeline is starving. Or number 2, retention. You're sitting on a 6-figure database. Pick one, install AI on that one, and don't try to do all 4 in a quarter, because you will just lose focus and not get anything done at all, right? Both paths end here. You have to stop grinding your salary and stop grinding on payroll, and you start owning a system to be a different category of human. And I want you, right? There are three reactions that you can essentially give me, right? For the next 30 days, you can decide which side you end up on. Number 1, you listen to this, you nod, and do absolutely nothing. And statistically, most people in the next 18 months, your markets will be owned by someone else who uses AI. Or number 2, you may try to build everything at once. It's common. And the people who try this tend to fail on all 4 bottlenecks in 1 quarter. Number 3, right, which is the one I want you to focus on. Focus on one industry, one bottleneck across the next 90 days. Obsess in it. If your head goes here when the video ends, right, you're already on the top 5%. Because the market is wide open, the tools are off the shelf, and the case studies are already public. I've showed you 4 examples. What's missing is operators and professionals just like yourself who is willing to pick a bottleneck and not blink. No more hesitation, right? How many of you are ready to go? Type in go in the chat if you're ready to go, right? Because every brick and mortar business or even online business, services business has 4 bottlenecks, and AI just removed all 4. You just have to pick one. So I want you to write this down. This is your 90-day picture and 90-day plan. Number 1, pick your industry. Number 2, audit the 4 bottlenecks. Number 3, identify the highest leverage one. And number 4, walk away with the 90-day plan. You can either build, buy, or partner, you know which. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, feel free to connect with me if you would like to find a solution to your bottlenecks. My name is Ching Yu Tan. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Otherwise, you can go to chingyutan.com as well. All right. So great to see, great to be sharing with all of you in the Growth and Wealth Roundtable. Because up next, right, if you have enjoyed the session so far, type in yes in the chat if you are enjoying the session so far and gaining massive amounts of value. Because up next, we have, a director of not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 public listed companies here in Malaysia, advising them on tax matters and auditing matters as well. She will be sharing with you how to optimize your tax, right? So that not only do you make money, but you save money as well, right? Without breaking the bank, paying the government unnecessarily. I'm not saying, don't pay your tax. I'm saying don't overpay your tax and don't pay tax unnecessarily. So without further ado, let's give a warm round of virtual applause to Lei Bei.
Thank you, Cheng Yu. And welcome everyone to my session on tax. T-A-X. Yes, tax. Let me first ask you something uncomfortable. When you hear the word tax, how do you feel? Clarity or confusion? For most people, business owners, professionals, and even investors leave tax to the end of the year. They only do it once a year, usually with stress, not strategy. Are you one of them? And here's the strange part. We work hard to make money, don't we? But we rarely learn how to structure what happens to it after we earn it. So the real question is not how much you earn, it is how much you actually keep. Most people see tax as a cost, something to minimize, to avoid, or just get over it. But in reality, tax is not just an obligation. It is a system. And when you understand that system, tax becomes a tool, not a burden anymore. The difference between people who struggle financially and those who build long-term wealth is not just income. Yeah. It is tax intelligence. Let me share with you a story. I have two friends, Amy and Thomas. Both of them earn 1 million ringgit a year. On paper, they look identical. But at the end of the year, Amy feels financially stretched, while Thomas continues to grow wealth quietly in the background. Why? Because Amy is reacting to tax, and Thomas is designing around tax. Amy treats tax as something to handle later, but Thomas treats tax as something to plan before anything happens. Same income, different outcome. Yeah. So let tax be your friend as well. Here is just a simple shift. Tax is not just about filing. It is about minimizing risk. You're maximizing your legitimate savings, which definitely help you to sleep well at night. Do you want to have a happy sleep? Yep. So tax is all about structure. It goes hand in hand with the money you earn. You want to earn 8-figure, you want to earn from option, you want to earn from the web you build. Well, so tax comes along with it. It touches everything. How you earn, how you spend, how you invest, and how you hold your assets. And most importantly, it rewards those who plan early, not those who react late. So instead of asking, how do I pay less tax? That's what I always hear from my clients. Yeah. A better question is, how do I structure my income so tax works with my growth, not against it? That shift alone changes everything. Try it. It is magical. Yeah. The truth is, many people don't lose money because they don't earn enough. They actually lost money because they never learn how money flows after it is earned. And over time, that gap creates frustration that leads you to say, I'm working harder, but not getting ahead. That feeling is not just financial. It is emotional. Because effort without progress creates burnt out. You want to be burnt out? And clarity creates control. And then control creates confidence. So, before you focus only on making more money, pause first and ask, do I understand how my money is structured after I earn it? Am I building income or am I building wealth? Because tax is not the enemy. Ignorance of tax is. And when you learn to see tax as a system, not a punishment, you stop reacting and you start designing your financial future. Believe me. And here are 3 takeaways in treating tax as a tool. Number 1, be accurate and transparent. Always remember, report all your income. Number 2, claim only what you are entitled to and when you have supporting documents. Plan ahead. Don't react last minute. That's how you turn income into wealth and wealth into legacy. And we have been hearing about Vince encouraging us and the possibility of getting 8 figures income, and Terence telling us about profit from options. And this is where we want to think about that we want to build a legacy. With that, I thank you, and back to you, Ching Yu. I hope you find this small session interesting and beneficial. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Lei Bing. If you all have learned a lot, type in yes in the chat if you have learned a lot from Lei Bing. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Great, great, great. Right? A lot of insights when it comes to mastering our wealth building future, right? We cannot neglect on the tax side of things. And how many of you would love to be able to master your tax? Type in tax in the chat if you'd love to be able to master your tax, because Lei Bing has so graciously offered a gift to all of you as well. All right, so great to see all the text that's coming into the chat. Lei Bing is actually offering a free 2-day masterclass on how is it that you can start optimizing your tax so that you can preserve your wealth and to build up your legacy. All right, so our team will be sharing within the link within the chat to secure your spot for Lei Bing's 2 days masterclass on optimizing your tax. You can head on over to scalendo.com/Lei Bing. The link is in the chat right now. So make sure you click onto it. It will be happening on June 17th to 18th, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. live online. Make sure you don't miss it. The link is in the chat. All right, because up next, we are going to share with you, regardless of what age you are, maybe some people may think, oh, I'm too old or I'm too young. But I truly believe that impossible has no age, because the next master and expert who will be coming up to share with you how is it that you can reinvent your life on your own terms, regardless of what age you are at right now, is of course Samantha Leong, who has been, who has climbed through the corporate ladders of the major banking institutions and climbed the highest rungs, right? And being able to build up teams under her so masterfully. But at the same time, she has gone through personal challenges as well that she will be sharing with you and how she overcame it, right? So how many of you would love to be able to overcome, right? Overcome your biggest challenge. Type in overcome in the chat if you're ready to overcome your biggest challenges. Because without further ado, let's give a warm round of virtual applause to Samantha Leong.
Thank you, Ching Yu. Ching Yu is my mentor in terms of AI. Now, before I begin, I would like to thank all my friends here who have given me very strong support. And I would also like to thank my mentor in training. She's from Hong Kong, Miss Rosemary Wong. My dearest friend, my gynecologist, Dr. Michael Fong, who is also in this room. My spiritual leader, Ezekiel Lim, who is also in this room, plus many, many of you here. I couldn't name you all who has given me support throughout my own life. Let me share the slides now. Program Tegendala for a short while. Please bear with me. All right, what I'm going to share with you is impossible has no age. I'm going to talk about how I reinvented life on my own terms. So what I'm going to share with you today is the following. Impossible is a feeling. It's not a fact. It's not a death sentence. You don't need confidence to begin. You only need courage to take the first step. Your pain is not your punishment. It is your preparation. And reinvention has no expiry date, irregardless of what age we are. And reinvention begins with just one decision that you make. This is my topic for today. Now, I used to think that 50 plus or 60 plus or even 70 plus was when things slowed down. I was wrong. Life did not slow down for me. In fact, it brought me to my knees. Let me share with you why I say that. This is my journey. When I was in my 30s, I was in and out of 4 ICUs, 3 hospitals. I had a medical crisis. In that medical crisis, I lost an unborn baby. It was a baby girl. I had 2 lovely sons at that time, and I wanted a girl very badly. I lost it. And my baby was only 3 weeks away before delivery. I still can remember very vividly the ambulance rides from one hospital to another, and the doctors was scurrying around trying to save my life. And I remember all the needles and the oxygen mask that is being poked into my body, and I couldn't breathe. It was one of the most traumatic experiences I've gone through. Overnight, I became medically bound. I became a diabetic on insulin. Although I got gestational diabetes when I was pregnant, and I lost my baby. And on top of that, I fear that I won't survive. It took me about 3 months to get back to my health because I couldn't walk properly. It was tough. I thought I had it all until 9 months later, my beloved husband was diagnosed with cancer. I thought that was enough. Life has thrown me enough lemons. Then 6 months after that, my mother had a cancer relapse. And that point in time, my two boys were very young. One is 4, one is 1. I almost gave up. As if that is not enough, my second storm came. About 2.5 years ago, my husband landed in ICU again, this time 3 weeks. He had septicemia, which is a life-threatening condition. And this time around, it's no longer emotions. It is financial. We almost lost everything. If you were to ask me this question at that time, what is still possible when everything feels lost? I would have given you this answer. Nothing. Nothing is possible. But something inside me shifted. Not from the outside, but inside. And I realized something that I would like to share with you today. That impossible is not a fact. It's not a fact. It's not a death sentence. It's not a verdict. It is just a feeling. And feelings can change. So those of us feel that impossible, I would like you to seriously think again. It's just a feeling. It is not, I repeat, not a death sentence. Now, I'm going to share with you 3 truths today. The first one being, you don't wait to feel ready. At that time, I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel ready. But life doesn't wait for me or for any of us to feel ready. It has to go on. So I showed up anyway, not perfectly, but consistently. So lesson number 1 for me was, I don't need confidence to begin. All I need was the courage to take the first step. And I did that. Now, my dear friends out there, my dear audience, I would like you to reflect on this. Where are you waiting to feel ready? We can wait forever. When we first start, we are always not ready, but we start somewhere. Truth number 2, your pain is not punishment. Now, for a long time, I thought my story was about loss, but it wasn't. It's about my preparation. Everything I went through, every hospital, every tear, was building something inside me that I would one day stand on. Resilience. So the key learning for me is your pain is not your punishment. It is indeed your preparation for something bigger, something that you need to do before you have any regrets. Reflection time again. What has your life prepared you for? We have a lot of knowledge. We have a lot of experiences. We have a lot of skills. Please don't take it with us. To the next world. Share and impact somebody's lives. Truth number 3. Reinvention belongs to the willing. Reinvention has no expiry date. Today, I am 64 years old. A lot of ladies will not want to tell you their age, but I'm 64 years old. By conventional standards, I should be slowing down. But no, I refuse to slow down. I am, in fact, stepping up. Because I finally understand this. Reinvention doesn't belong to the young. Reinvention belongs to those who are willing. Are you willing? That is my question to you. Today, I'm not starting from zero. I'm starting from experience. I'm starting from resilience. I'm starting from everything that life wants to take away from me, but could not. And I carry with me a simple mission. That is to value add and impact lives positively. I'm very sure you have heard of the starfish story. If I can impact somebody positively, just one person at a time, and value add to their lives and make them better, then I have succeeded. Because in life, behind people's happy faces and the facade, you do not know how much pain and suffering they are going through right now. But if you can if we can do our little part, then it will definitely make this world a much happier place for everyone. Now, this is your turn now. What have you been telling yourself that is, you tell yourself it's too late? Some of us may say, I'm too old to write a book. I am too old to exercise. I am too old to learn AI. I am too old for this and that and this. Or I do not have the means to do this and this and this. Please, may I remind, start doing something that you love and you like to do so that you will not regret later in life. So the action steps, what I would like you to do is identify one thing that you have postponed doing for a long, long time. And take one small step within the next 48 hours, one small step towards realizing your goal. It could be writing a book. It could be spending quality time with your children, your grandchildren, which you have not met for a long, long time. Anything that you will not regret not doing later. Or it could be contribute back to society because you have so much in you to share. Next thing is change your story. Don't tell yourself that you are the end. You're at the end of your story. You are at the end of your life. Can you do that for me? So this is something I would like to leave with you. Your 50s and 60s or even 70s are not the end of your story. I repeat, your 50s, 60s, or 70s are not the end of your story. They are the moment. They are the moment that finally you get to become the person that you are meant to be. With this, I wish you all the very best. And thank you. Thank you for listening to me, because impossible has no age. I know of a friend here, my dear friend, my dearest friend, Chiman. At the age of 70 plus, he decided to serve the Lord full time. And he is doing a wonderful job. And there are many of my dear friends here who are building the business, but also in doing so, building the lives of other people and impacting them positively. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you. I pass the stage back to Ching Yu right now. Okay, bye-bye.
A round of applause to Samantha, right? How many of you are inspired? Type in inspired in the chat if you are inspired by Samantha's sharing, right? Isn't Samantha amazing? And being in the presence of Samantha, her energy is something that is just magnetic, and she's such a bundle of joy, right? And how many of you would love to learn more from Samantha? And in fact, I told you that she has climbed the corporate ranks within the banking industry, and she actually helps businesses and corporations multiply their revenue. How many of you would love to multiply your revenue? Type in multiply in the chat if you'd love to be able to multiply your revenue. Because guess what? Not only has Samantha brought us inspiration, but she has brought us a gift as well. And the gift is a session with her, right, across 2 days called the Revenue Multiplier Masterclass. The link is in the chat. It's happening on June 29th to 30th at scalendo.com/Samantha. It is fully sponsored, courtesy of Samantha. Just click on the link and make sure that you secure your spot. That is Samantha's gift to all of you. And up next, right? Not only do you want to multiply your revenue, but how many of you would love to be able to raise funds? Give me a $ in the chat if you'd love to be able to raise funds for your ventures, for your business, or maybe even if you're starting up, maybe to the tune of 10 million ringgit or more, right? I love to see all of the $ that are coming into the chat, because my next guest expert who will be coming up on stage, it has climbed, to the highest points within corporate Malaysia, and has dealt with not only millions of dollars, but billions of dollars exchanging hands through corporations, through government entities. And he has also had vast experience within the financial industry, from the Middle East as well, and coming back here in Malaysia. So without further ado, sharing with you the 10 million ringgit blueprint to fundraise for your business, for your dreams, for your ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm round of virtual applause to Arukanda.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Ching Yu, and thank you, everybody, for joining the session today. I'm really pleased to be here, and happy to see so many people who are keen to find out more about raising funds, whether it's from 10,000 ringgit all the way to 10 million ringgit. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you for joining today's session. We don't have that much time to cover every single topic that would be relevant to you, but I hope that in this 15-minute session, I can give you a good overview of what's available, and I hope that will set you on the right path to discovering the various options that are suitable for you and for your business. So I'd like to start with a presentation. So essentially today, what we're trying to do, or what I would aim to do, is to give you a strategic roadmap that you can then apply as you develop and grow your business. And a lot depends ultimately on what's your specific business is, what your specific objectives are, and so on. But the key point here is that each of these techniques are things that have been done before, and it is tested. So what you then need to do is to customize it to your individual business and what you require in terms of moving forward. But before I move on, I'd just like to give you a bit of an overview of myself. So I studied in the UK, and I started working in London, and subsequently moved to the Middle East as an investment banker over the course of my career. And during that time, I worked on some of the largest transactions in the world across equity, across hybrid instruments, and as well as debt instruments. So over the years, over 20 years of working in the UK and in the Middle East, I built an expertise in financial structuring, financial services, and in strategic value creation. So what I do is to work with companies on developing their blueprint and helping them come up with the right strategy that is suitable for their business, and to then execute or implement that strategy. Because as we all know, an idea without execution remains just that, an idea. So in a nutshell, when we talk about fundraising, it's actually about the strategy of what. So what do you need to do? How, meaning how do you do it? And also when. So essentially sequencing, timing of the various actions in order to go from raising 10,000 ringgit all the way to raising 10 million ringgit. So the what, how, and when is what I'd like to share with you today at a very high level. And based on that, I think you can then adapt that for the needs of your individual businesses. So when we look at fundraising, we typically describe it as a step ladder. So you have different stages or different levels, and the higher up you go, the more money you raise, and the wider the options that you have in terms of fundraising. So if we start at level 1, which is the foundation. Now, for many businesses, this is where most of us would start. So we'd start at a level of, say, 10,000 ringgit up to 500,000 ringgit. And typically at these funding levels, it would come from your own savings, your personal savings, or your family savings. It could come from friends and family lending you money or investing money with you. And it could also come from grants, whether from the government or from charities. Once you move up to the next level, which is 500,000 ringgit to 2 million ringgit, which I've described here as level 2, you then have access to loans, including subsidized loans from the government as well as banks in Malaysia, and angel investors. Angel investors are those who come in at a very early stage of a company's development to provide either debt or equity to help the company grow. Now, once you've scaled up even more, the next stage would be the validation stage. So you've had the foundation stage, level 1, 10,000 to 500,000 ringgit. Level 2, you've had the leverage stage, where you take on additional funding, whether it's debt or equity from investors. And thirdly, you have a validation stage, because by this stage, you would have some level of operating cash flows, you have some level of product, proof of concept, you've got some level of success, which essentially means that your business is viable. And so as a validation of that viability, you would be able to target between 2 million ringgit to 5 million ringgit. And at this stage, the options open to you are wider. For example, equity crowdfunding, where you would raise money from the market, peer-to-peer funding, where you target certain funding platforms with other people in the same profession as you or the same industry as you, and of course VC or venture capital funding, where one step above from angel investors, venture capital investors typically take a view to scaling up a company and validating a viable business concept. Now, once that's done, you're now at level 4. And level 4 is basically the big game, right? In level 4, you're looking at 5 million ringgit to 10 million ringgit of fundraising. And typically this would be Series A fundraising, Series B, C, and you move on to PE or private equity, which is the third type of investor that comes in to finance growth capital for a developing company or a growing company. And of course, then you have a path to an IPO, an initial public offering, where it takes you to the next level of fundraising. Now, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning, this blueprint is tried and tested. It's something that has been done before, so it's not rocket science, but to make it relevant to your company and to your needs, the step ladder or the blueprint has to be carefully designed, and it has to be properly executed or properly implemented. Otherwise, you will not be able to get from the foundation level right up to level 4. Now, typically in phase 1 of your development, bootstrapping and grants would be your typical go-to. So personal funding or personal investments, friends and family. FNF stands for friends and family. Now, what this does is it shows your skin in the game. It shows you putting your money where your mouth is. And this basically gives investors confidence that you are committed. But of course, at this stage, it's still very high risk because the business is new, but it does develop at very high speed. So usually, this is where most of us start our entrepreneurial journey with our personal savings, as well as friends and family. Next, you've got grants. So in Malaysia, the two major ones are Cradle and MDEC. They provide various grants which are non-dilutive. Non-dilutive means you don't need to give up equity. So it's a grant that's given to you for R&D, research and development, and for commercialization. And this is part of the government's effort to promote the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Malaysia. And lastly, we have accelerator credits. So accelerators are typically funds or subsets of funds where they give you access to 50,000 ringgit to 150,000 ringgit, which could either take the form of cash or it could be in the form of infrastructure, for example, office space, computing power if you're working on IT-intensive industries, and that allows you to then accelerate or build your business. In the second phase, you would look at loans. So in Malaysia, we've got Tekun and SME Corporation, which offers subsidized loans to startups and to SMEs. You've got commercial SME loans from commercial banks, and these loans are guaranteed by Credit Guarantee Corporation or CGC. And what these loans do, again, is that they allow you to keep your ownership. They allow you to keep your equity whilst you're scaling up and proving your concept and bringing in early revenue. Thirdly, as you get to the next level of the step ladder, the power of many. And essentially this refers to equity crowdfunding, where you can target retail investors, including customers or people who like your product, to help finance your growth. Now, the good thing is in Malaysia, equity crowdfunding is a regulated activity, and we have platforms now run by or approved by the Securities Commission, for example, My Startup and Pitching. And essentially, these platforms aggregate all the retail investors. They also have templates for you to make your pitches. They've got guidance on how to raise money, and it therefore gives a level of confidence for investors to finance you on the basis of equity crowdfunding. Lastly, I've added here for angel investors, the MBAN, which is the Malaysian Business Angels Network. It's made up of entrepreneurs, it's made up of investors, it's made up of various funds, and they typically would finance between 50,000 ringgit to a million ringgit, whether in debt or in equity. Now, once you pass that and you get into the 5 million plus ringgit range, you're looking essentially at financing from institutions. So you've got venture capital, you've got private equity, and you've also got P2P financing, which is peer-to-peer financing. In addition, there's also family offices, and you've also got high net worth investors who may want to invest in businesses. So they would typically come in at a later stage once you've got your business up and running, you've got a proven model, you've got a proof of concept, and you're growing and scaling the business. At this stage, you're no longer just pitching your idea. The idea is already established. You're now at a stage where you're demanding a certain multiple of valuation for your company. So if you put in $1, you're now demanding $5 or $10 or $20 of value for what you have built. And now the difference at this stage of investors is that typically they would provide growth capital. So they won't take the risk at an angel level or a VC level. They're now here to finance a proven business model and to help you grow further. Now, once you've done all this, the ultimate goal is, of course, an IPO, and to raise money by listing your shares and attracting investors in the public market. Now, again, in Malaysia, we are fortunate that we have a very good and well-structured ecosystem, starting with the LEAP market, which is designed for SMEs and startups, where you don't need to have a profit track record. The barriers to entry are quite low, but it's limited to sophisticated investors only. So your retail mom and pop investors can't take part here. But it allows you to list, and it allows you to raise funding. Next, you come the ACE market, which is for companies with very high growth prospects. You don't need a minimum track record, and essentially you can target a broader investor base. And lastly, you can IPO on the main market of Bursa Malaysia, which is the gold standard. You need a certain three years minimum of profitability. You need to have a certain amount of turnover and so on. But essentially, that's the target that we should all have in terms of ultimate fundraising. So in that sense, when we talk about, we started at 10,000 ringgit and now we are at 10 million ringgit. 10 million ringgit is just the beginning of the journey. If you get listed on Bursa Malaysia and you become one of the largest companies in Bursa Malaysia, you could be looking at 100 billion ringgit of market capitalization. So it's been a short session because we've only had 15 minutes. But the question is, are you ready for the blueprint? And are you ready to have a customized and tailor-made way of approaching the fundraising step ladder? We've barely scratched the surface today. I've just given you a very broad overview of what's possible. But I hope this has given you some good ideas and some good inspiration in terms of where to start looking. And I wish each and every one of you all the very best in your entrepreneurial journey and fundraising journey. Thank you.
And let's give a round of applause to Aro for sharing with us the multi-million-dollar blueprint, right? If you thought this was of value, type in value in the chat if you thought this was of value, because this is just the very beginning together with Aro, if you wish. Because how many of you would love to learn more from Aro, especially when it comes to his business acumen and fundraising acumen? Type in more in the chat if you love to learn more, because you know what? I had to twist his arm a bit on this one, but he was gracious enough to say, hey, Ching-Yu, right? Let's do something special for our community here in SCALENDO. Yes, actually, we are in talks in having a 2-day masterclass in building your business and also fundraising. All right, so it's called Business and Fundraising Intensive. Tentatively, it is scheduled for July 27 to 28. If you're interested, this will be a fully sponsored program, which, it may not be fully sponsored in the future. If you want it, type in want in the chat if you want it, because if you want it, our team will be sharing with you the link to register your interest. Wow, look at the want that is coming into the chat right now. Okay, so the link is in the chat right now. You can head on over to scalendo.com/Arukanda to register your interest for the 2-day business and fundraising masterclass. All right, so make sure you secure your spot, because it's going to be an amazing 2 days together. And as you can tell, Aro is a serious player in corporate Malaysia and in business in general. He has helped companies generate multi-million dollars in fundraising. So you do not want to miss out on this. Head on over to scalendo.com/Aro. And of course, let's give him a thank you as well for his share. All right, because up next, we have a very, very special individual who is also involved in mega projects here in Malaysia, including the likes of, if you have ever sat on any one of the trains here in Malaysia, most probably this gentleman over here, has been involved in its project management of these major railway projects here in Malaysia, be it the LRT, MRT, even the trains between our airports. Okay, and also a very, very gracious Swiss, whom, I would call him, I can call him our fellow Malaysian already, 24 years in Malaysia, right? And he's also the owner, the proud owner of Malaysia's only 30-year-old Swiss restaurant in Ampang, Chalet Swiss. So without further ado, let's give a warm round of virtual applause to Peter Wiss.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Chinyu, for this great welcome. And yeah, good evening, everybody. I think I got the challenge here that you are sitting already for 2 hours and more and talking about the money part of wealth and growth and the future, which is really amazing and crazy, I think. Now, having all these great talks, isn't it? It's really, really interesting what's possible out there, and especially now in the AI era. I like what Vince Tan introduced us today to, with these new opportunities available. However, everybody is, typically talking about wealth with money, the assets, and the performance, isn't it? Now, from my personal experience, as you just heard, I'm here in Malaysia for almost 24 years now, and involved in these mega projects, personally involved. I'm the one going to site. So that's why I believe I know Malaysia pretty well, because I did and was involved in all the projects, particularly with KTM. So from the north, Padang Besar, going now down to the south, my last project from Gemas to JB, which since last December now, you can use the train from Cal Central going down to JB comfortably in a new train. And, I'm a little bit proud about that, because Agong himself, the Sultan of Johor, now the Agong, he actually owns a train as well in Johor, and he is a certified train pilot. So he was the one inaugurating that new train from KL to JB, and that was quite an event. However, for me, it was a trade, and that's what I'm sharing with you now. Let me share my screen here. So, and let's go into eventually the slides. I hope you can see the slides now, where we talk about, in this short session I have, about, the growth, where we talk about the situation, about wealth you can't buy back. And what does that mean? We are always talking about the money part. And yes, I'm not saying it's not important. It is truly important. But once there is something else missing, when something you can't rebuild anymore, once it's gone, actually that's when the tough moments coming in, isn't it? However, similar like the tax, don't look at the tax when it's last minute, because you pay much more, isn't it? Here it's the same issue when the deeper layer of the typically the professionals, and I'm talking about me here as a good example. I just turned 54 now, and still in good health. That's lucky me. However, last year it looked different because of this invisible assets, which I have been trading off with, success. Indeed, it was successful what I could deliver. It's something of national interest, isn't it? If you build a railway, I can talk to my kids, my family. Hey, I built something here, and you can use it for the next 20, 30 years. And it's something fantastic, isn't it? Now, ask yourself, what in your life today would you struggle to rebuild if you would lose it today or tomorrow? What is that? Now, in the normal life, what we see, the people, especially social media, this is this facade which we see. Oh, the net worth is rising, the shiny videos, the shiny looks, the big cars, the titles and responsibilities expanding. And ultimately, you always say like, yeah, I will do it later. I myself, 20 years ago, no problem. You can eat what you want, you can do what you want, you can drink what you want. At the end, there is no problem, no issue. However, I figure out now, a little bit later, it's obviously taking a toll, and the cortisol issues happening, that when stress is there, it's not that easy to sleep it off anymore. And in my case, I'm even lucky. I can sleep anywhere, anytime, and that's the beauty. And once you can't sleep anymore, maybe one night, two night, no issue. But if that is a permanent problem, oh my dear, that's when it starts, isn't it? Then the required recovery time typically becomes more the older you get, or the more stress you have. But if that's fading away, it's challenging. Then the transactional interactions, and this is also one of my issues. I was traveling up and down every week, meeting in Johor, meeting in Putrajaya or KL, and yeah, there is a trade-off. Suddenly, you don't have deep connections anymore. Even I lost halfway a bit touch to my family, because family in KL, me, second home in Kluang, Johor, that's a different story. So from the outside, it looks like success, isn't it? From the inside, something is slowly breaking. Now, the structuring wealth that truly outlives you is, that's why I'm talking here to most affluent professionals never plan for it until it's too late. We usually say, never mind, I will look later, or I will do later. Priority now is, do the business, performance, and it's actually the challenge to really give the right priority, as long there is no health issue, isn't it? As long you can sleep, no problem. And anything else is an issue until health is not there anymore. And suddenly you have one big issue, and then all the focus is on health. Lucky you if you can fix it, isn't it? And that's how you actually protect your legacy, where you can outlive your wealth. And maybe also one thing, as you heard, I'm from Switzerland. In Switzerland, typically the retirement life is, or age is 65. And the challenge you have in Switzerland, everything is quite clockwork. You tick, you work very disciplined until 65. Suddenly you are retired, and then there is no more meaning. Suddenly the purpose is gone, and actually the death toll after retiring, few months after retiring, is pretty high, because people have no more purpose. Then I remember back in the 90s, towards 2000, I even was involved in some of the studies there, where they actually started programs, corporate programs, on what a retiree can do, should do, create a hobby and meaning in life. And that's a big deal, isn't it? Because all the money is useless if you can't enjoy the money. And this is, what if you don't fully outlive your wealth in the way you are living today? So, and even in my current job, when I built the railway, I have seen quite a number of senior guys. They work 30, 40 years in the very same company, and 60 plus, still working, and suddenly, boom, they got cancer. Couple of months later, you can't see them anymore in the office. And what is that for, isn't it? So really, it's a matter of that this whole chain we bring together, that where your energy, the clarity you have, the relationships, the time, and the growth All that together, in my view, that creates the true wealth. And of course, if you can make some good money in between, and now with these opportunities at hand that we can really go out, use AI, build a business while the business is clocking 24 hours, 7, and it creates income, and we can enjoy that. I think it's really a great opportunity, isn't it? Now, the core assets, which you cannot outsource, it's impossible. Even AI can't do it for you, because ultimately physical health, that the physical capital is your health, isn't it? That's where your energy, that the recovery, how fast can you recover, and the physical stability, that's critical, isn't it? And if you are really healthy, you are unshakable. And I will give you just an example in a moment, and then the intellectual and spiritual capital you have, where your brain and your purpose is really at a great momentum. And again, it doesn't mean with 40 or 50 you are out of the game. Actually, I like what we just discussed today, that the experience somebody brings to the table, and now you can multiply that with AI. It's actually fantastic, isn't it? But exactly what you see in front of you here, the core asset is, in totality, that your physical health and your intellectual and spiritual capital is there, that you have the capacity to build a business. Doesn't matter if it's now together with AI, or at least you have the experience to grow something new. That all together can work. If something here is missing, we are in trouble, isn't it? And this is where last year, when I went into burnout, because finishing this railway, you typically, the last mile of these mega projects, it's the toughest one, isn't it? Where everything has to work. And can you imagine when the top guns of the company building this railway, the Tanzris and Tatos telling you, and tomorrow Agong is using that train, and you make sure that works, and then there's no error on the screen or anything, you cannot sleep, isn't it? So it was like shaky, isn't it? And lucky me, it was working, but I still ran into a burnout. And it doesn't matter what a career you have, doesn't matter what car you actually riding, or in my case, even a super bike also, actually even worse, once mentally you are down, sitting on a bike, you have a choice. Do you go straight into the wall, or you still go home? And this is a big deal, isn't it? And lucky me, this is when actually, what is this next slide here explaining? When things go wrong, and at some point, they potentially will, isn't it? Money doesn't actually show up emotionally. It doesn't matter anymore. But people do, or they don't. That's the point here, where you can't build family, trusted relationships, or real connections just when you need it, isn't it? That's a matter of time. It's like a compounding effect. The same when you invest money, the compounding effect of this investment gives you the true wealth in the long run over a timeline with a proper return. The same goes to your family and friends, the real deep connections. And in my case, I was lucky. Actually, the biggest support I had, I use AI to a certain extent, but then I figure out the guy is just talking and I can't take it anymore. Despite I programmed a fantastic AI on actually mental resilience and all that. However, the ultimate support was the human touch, the human part, which obviously still somehow I built, keeping in touch with very good people here in Malaysia, which basically they hold me through this tough time, 3-4 months until I recovered. And yeah, luckily me now, you see me here, no issue anymore, isn't it? Now I can easily talk. Actually, it's a very good use case for me, but that's why I went through this already. So I can tell it's not just the money part or the investments, the trading or whatever. It's actually the true energy which we are trading here, and that's you can't replace that. This is not just easy done, isn't it? And you cannot just activate it on demand. So the real, investment strategy here is that it's a bit uncomfortable because we don't like to talk about it. It's easier to talk about money or something like that, But ultimately, we invest every day, and these three topics doesn't matter what you are doing. You and me, we all have the same time. It's the 168 hours a week. Now, where do we spend the time, or do we invest the time? Spending time and investing time, two different stories, isn't it? Where is your energy going? Because anything we do is energy. Or where do we trade attention? Now, all the social media apps, they are our attention grabbers, isn't it? And where attention goes, that's where the energy goes, and ultimately the time. Now, the question is not if we are investing, it is the question, where are we investing? And this is highly critical. Do we also look into the relationships, the families we have, and do we invest in our own time as well, which will ultimately survive us in the long run? So here it's your takeaway, the physical investment to keep yourself healthy, to really, whatever small action it is, just do it. A 5-10 minutes walk maybe can do wonders, and gives you a little bit of different view. If you go into the woods, into the greens, the jungle, it really helps. Or the social investment to keep up with your relationships. In my case, that probably saved my life last year, end of last year. And what we also just learned, AI is here, isn't it? That's not a bubble or hype. In my whole career, I think it was never faster, never more profound how fast this AI is overtaking us. So everyday learning, I call it a daily dose of learning. It's highly critical if you want to sustain, to learn, attending these kind of seminars and webinars and courses. I believe we can't talk around it anymore. It has to happen, isn't it? And all the corporations have to learn as well. The typical 1 or 2 days training a year, this is over. It is actually a daily dose of learning, 15 minutes daily to grow into a new era in our lifetime here. I think it's a highly interesting era of life. Never been before, so it's so interesting, volatile and turmoil and everything. But yeah, here we are. And what we also heard many times, invest in systems. I take it a bit broader, more from a meta position point of view, to actually, reduce the overall dependency. Me, myself, running a business as well, I figure out, coming from a traditional business, from being an engineer, building sustainable businesses, that's what they taught us back in Switzerland 20, 30 years ago, build a sustainable business, like the people, the HR and everything. But at the end, I figure out, just everything in business ends up with me. If it's not done by any other department or any person in my business, it ends up with me. And this is a pressure, especially when you go into mega projects. At the end, yeah, there are limits, isn't it? So building systems to remove that single point of dependency is really great. So I would like to close with that, to really, building the wealth that can carry you today, so that you are strong enough beyond 60, 70, or even 80 to outlive you tomorrow. And maybe I want just to end with a little story when indeed 50 it's now 10 years ago. I just ran a marathon in Singapore, 42 km. And I'm not the fastest, you know, it takes me 5 hours to run a marathon, but at least I survived. That's the good part. But the frustrating part is in the last 5 kilometers, you know, coming back to the finish line, the last 5 kilometers, an old Chinese man is overtaking me. And then I thought, like, that bugger, you know, how can he be so powerful? And then, you know, to, to my, you know, surprise or whatever, he had a laminated paper at his back stick, and it was back in December. Usually the marathons, the one I ran is the, what's the bank? Yeah, the marathon in December, usually end of the year. And then this Chinese guy, by the way, I'm 79 and this is my fourth marathon this year. And then he was Boston Marathon and New York, and you're crazy. So you see, it doesn't matter what age you are actually. You just need to start to do. And I believe it's the holistic view of all your life realms coming together, from an investment to personal investment, and taking care of everything, which brings you in the long run into a very happy and wealthy life. So yeah, here we are. I think should be a little bit inspiring also, that it's never too late to start a marathon, isn't it? Yep, here we are. So Chinyu, I give it back to you if you are okay.
Yeah. All right, let's give a round of virtual applause to Peter for sharing his inspiration and message on investing in ourselves to create a truly lasting legacy and wealth, right? You know, if you are ready to invest in yourself, type in me in the chat if you're ready to invest in yourself, especially after listening to Peter's message, right? Because isn't it important for us to invest in our health and also in the people around us as well? So great to see all the me's that are coming into the chat right now, right? And if you're ready to invest in yourself, how many of you would love to also learn more from Peter? Type in Peter in the chat if you love to learn more from Peter, by the way, right? Because, you know, as you can tell, Peter is really, you know, a big bundle of joy and happiness to be around with, right? And we are so fortunate to have him as one of our partners within our community, right? And great to see all of the Peters that are coming into the chat. So if you'd like to learn more, Peter so graciously is also fully sponsoring a 2-day class for our community. All right, so you can head on over to scalendo.com/Peter Wiss. The link is in the chat. He will be kicking off this series of inspiration with well, actually, it's not just 2 days, it's 3 days, in fact, called Lighthouse 360 Life Design Essentials, to help you find direction and not feel lost in life anymore. What if you could tap into your inner purpose? What if you could build a wholer, fuller life where you do not neglect the most important areas of your life anymore? What if you started putting yourself first? So if you want to put yourself first, head on over to scalendo.com/Peter Wiss. The link is in the chat. All right. So, you know, so how many of you have gained a lot of value today? Type in value in the chat if you have gotten a lot of value today. We started off with today's session, right, by sharing with you the 8-figure startup with Vince Tan on building your solo empire within the age of AI. And remember, when you come back tomorrow and when you stay until the end, you also get a special digital bundle just from Vince Tan himself. You also learned on conquering emotional intelligence, taught by Sri. How is it that you can start mastering yourself to start mastering your wealth and well-being? And we also talked about money mindset, especially in the current crazy economic and political environment right now, from Terence Tan, who will be coming back tomorrow to share with you automated daily options income strategies. You don't want to miss tomorrow's session. Terence Tan will be taking over and sharing with you his exact strategies on how is it that you can monetize from the options market even during these turbulent times. So make sure that you are on time tomorrow at 8 p.m. using this very same webinar link. And we also covered on the $1 million brick and mortar businesses and beyond with the power and help of AI using tools like OpenClaw. You have seen the possibilities to start identifying and alleviating the 4 key bottlenecks, be it from prospecting, be it from the outreach for conversions, be it from the delivery, and then of course on the retention as well. And we also had Lei Bing who shared with us tax for you. How is it that you can optimize your tax so that you can maintain your wealth and not pay tax unnecessarily? And Samantha also shared with you on overcoming insurmountable challenges or seemingly insurmountable challenges, even in your 50s, 60s, 70s, or beyond. But truth of the matter is, regardless of whatever age it is, we may face times where we feel like we are in darkness. And whenever you feel those moments, just remember, it's not that you are in darkness, you are being planted. Right? Planted to be nurtured, to become who the person you are meant to be. All right. And then Arul also shared with us his 10 million ringgit fundraising blueprint. How is it that you can break it down into 4 key phases in your business or in your startups to start having a blueprint to work towards to and scaling up and building more together, right? And finally, we have Peter who shared with us legacy and wealth building, on truly the deepest and meaningful level, right? So, how many of you would actually love to learn more from all of our experts, right? Type in all in the chat if you would love to learn more and, really bundle all of this together with our experts. Because if you missed out on the gifts that they have shared, you have this opportunity to secure your spot for what we call the Growth and Wealth Masterclass series in 2026. All of the 5 masterclasses that you have heard from Peter Wiss on legacy and succession, Lei Bing on tax strategy, Samantha Leong on multiplying your revenues, Sri on emotional intelligence, and of course, Arukanda on business and fundraising, where I'll be speaking together with him as well. If you're interested in getting all of these masterclasses absolutely fully sponsored, thanks to our guest experts, head on over to scalendo.com/TGWR-series. Okay, the link is in the chat, and the value of this is definitely worth more than what you are seeing on screen right now. And we cannot guarantee that, in the future, these programs will ever be sponsored in the future. So this is your opportunity to secure it while you can, right? And then as you can see, once you click onto the link, you can reserve your free seat. It will bring you to this form. Just fill in the details, and you will also be presented with a one-time offer. How many of you love offers, by the way? Type in offer in the chat if you love offers, because many of you, you would love to be able to watch these replays over and over again, right? Especially, with our whole range of experts. After you fill in the form, you will see that you will be offered 2 options, okay, to upgrade. One is a $50 upgrade plus SST, where you will be able to get the recording of this masterclass and also the additional expert masterclasses, the 5 masterclasses that has been shown to you. And you know what? You also gain lifetime access to it. So it's only for $50 you can upgrade to get the replays. But how many of you would actually love to have dinner together with Arul and myself as well? Type in dinner in the chat if you'd like to have dinner with Arul and myself, right? And in a very special restaurant and place called Chalet Swiss, right? 3 decades of history, we will be hosting an exclusive dinner together with myself and Arul in Chalet Swiss. It will be in Ampang, right? And if you choose the gold upgrade for $100 only plus SSD, essentially to cover your makan over there and to be able to connect with us and to understand you on a deeper level, you can go for the gold upgrade, right? Just click on it. Yes, I want gold access to meet and have to dine together with Arul and myself. Just click on that and you will be brought to the payment link over here to secure your spot. And of course, because it is dinner, an exclusive dinner, limited spots are available. Probably, I don't know, maybe 10 to maximum 20 packs is likely the numbers that we can go for this dinner, because we would really like to make this close and intimate, and you have first dibs on it. So make sure that you secure not only your five masterclasses, which is the growth and wealth roundtable masterclass series. Also secure your gold tickets to dine together with Arul and myself as well in Chalet Swiss. So with that, head on over to scalendo.com/TGWR series. The link is in the chat. And remember to come back tomorrow, because in tomorrow's session of the Growth and Wealth Roundtable, we will be having Terence Tan, who has successfully built up, successful traders in the options industry, even in the most turbulent times that we are in right now. If you want to start building your automated daily options income, make sure you come back tomorrow. We are starting at 8 p.m. GMT +8 on time, same link, same place. And, we really look forward to serving you as well. All right. And in the meantime, head on over to scalendo.com/TGWR series while you still can, so that we can see you very, very soon. All right. And also do secure your spots for the gold ticket as well. So with that, head on over to TGWR/series. If you have any questions, feel free to ask within the chat. All right, we'll be here for the next couple of minutes if you have any other questions. All right, see you soon. Make sure you're on time, and tomorrow at 8 p.m. GMT +8. See you soon. Thank you very much, everybody, and thanks to all of our guest speakers and our team as well so far. See you soon.